And before we go out to AT, we got a briefing from our chain of command. The ROTCs out there, they are not in play. They're not to be engaged. They're just there training, and we're like, north and south to the chain of command. And then we look at each other and we're like, they're in play, motherfucker. Hello everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. Alright, what are we going to talk about today, gentlemen? Alright, we're going to talk about some National Guard shit. Alright, so we were Company F, 425 Airborne Infantry, Long Range Reconnaissance Airborne in Michigan. So we were the premier elite unit in Michigan in regards to the National Guard, or the Michigan National Guard. So we used to attract a lot of attention. Some of it good, most of it just bad. So we would go do a lot of our ATs, which are annual trainings up at Grayling. In fact, most of them were there. Every once in a while we did them at Custer, but that place isn't big enough to really stretch out your legs. So, we basically just go up there, shoot weapons and stuff. But hey, we know people, things happen, and a lot of times this Michigan, at least they used to do this, wanted to have their units pretty much up at Grayling in like a 30-day, 40-day time frame. They wanted to get it all over with, and it's not big enough. You can't have everyone there at once, but they would usually, the combat units would go out there and do force on force and stuff like that. And there was like a war game, and we would usually get tied up in the middle of that doing recon and LRS missions, either for one side or both sides. But because this happened, the ROTC, the high school ROTCs, and I think it was U of M and Eastern, would almost always go out and do their deal right around when we would do ours, either towards the beginning or towards the end. And since, the 425 guys were, insidiously cunning, a lot of times we would get our hands on their op orders. Either we would take pictures of it because they'd leave that shit up in unsecured rooms. Not that I know anything about that. And we would know where they were going to be, what time they were going to arrive, how many people they would have, what they were going to do. Are they going to run the Ranger Stakes, which they usually did, which I think are stupid anyway. But yeah, we knew everything. And if we didn't all know before we went to the field, we did have basically it was the NCO super secret communication methods, which were just alternate radio freaks that weren't on the CEOI. And we usually, the NCOs would coordinate those ahead of time and wouldn't really, let the upper chain of command know about it, just so we could do any, sneaking around or any other underhanded shit that, might need to happen, which quite often did happen, just saying. So on this one's, there's two different missions that this happened on, but this particular one, we didn't know when the ROTC was coming out when we, went out to the field. We got jumped in on the objective, and, it was like every 6 hours we would click over to the alternate freak, and we'd listen, and it came across like, hey, they used the code word for the ROTCs. I think they were greenhorns. It was something derogatory, worthless fucks, greenhorns, flicked boogers. It's just fucked up shit, And let's face it, it's kind of worthless. And if you've watched this show for a while, this will be no surprise that I don't really have a lot of high regard for too many officers. In a 33-year career, I got maybe 8 to 12 officers I came across who were really good. The rest, half of the other ones were mediocre at best, and the remainder, which is a majority of them, were toxic, incompetent, self-serving fucks. That goes kind of far by me saying that, but I don't lie to you guys. I'm just telling you how it is, and that's how I perceive things. So. And I'll get to more stories about that down the road. So we get out, we get the grid where they're at. It was just a 6-digit grid. Then I get a call from a couple other guys that were, within 10 clicks of the objective. I was 6 clicks out. I had, there was 2 other 3rd platoon teams that were in range, and there was 1 1st platoon team. So we all coordinated. We linked up. We did it just the way you're supposed to do it. We did the link ups. We had the near and far, near and far recognition signals. And for you non-military types, especially when you have people walking around with guns out in a battlefield, be it simulated or not, people get shot at or shot, and things happen. So a lot of times you would get to where you're going to link up. You make comms. You just say, "Hey, this is me. I'm here. Where are you at?" Then you do the colored flashlight. It's usually an odd number. It's like a red flashlight, a blue flashlight, or VH17 panel, or what have you. And we would do that, and they would, okay, I know those guys. Then we'd link up with them, And since we all knew each other, how we looked, we didn't have to do the super secret, passwords and stuff. So we're about a click and a half off the objective, where all of the ROTC people were congregating. It's like fucking clockwork. I have never seen, well, I have seen it, but it never failed to amaze me at just how unprofessionally stupid these people were. It looked like a carnival. They were. I mean, we're a click out. We could hear them. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's fucking. There's people yelling on megaphones. They're running their fucking combat lanes. There was news media there, and we pull off in the wood line and we watch for a good couple hours. You can figure out a lot of what's going on if you just sit back and just observe. And we found out where their shitters were at, or they were parking their vehicles. Which ways they were coming and going off of their objective, which, by the way, was a huge field. And on one side there was I think it was the Asabo River. So you had fuck balls in there, and swimming around and shit. I don't even know how that fucking works, but there's no security. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. So we watched. It was maybe 6, 7 o'clock at night, and then we moved into position, and then we waited for the sun to go down. And once the sun goes down, those guys, they're beyond fucked. All right, you can get none fucked more than that. I mean, they were literally everything stopped. It was quiet. Yeah, they had some people pulling security, but they really weren't serious. I mean, they didn't even have nods on. This is our job. We crawl on our bellies for like 500 to 1,000 meters to get up on an objective unobserved. We knew how to use the terrain, how to camouflage. I mean, we're fucking all over their shit. And in the span, once we moved down into position, and we started sending out our teams, 2-man teams out there around the objective to acquire shit. It took about 35 minutes. In my particular team, we took, it was basically an entire cooler of soda, and we didn't get the beer, and they didn't have any beer. Well, they did, but they didn't keep it in the cooler. We found that later. And another team found that in somebody's tent. Not that I'm saying anything that's a bad thing. I thought it was pretty good, but, my team took, I think it was 3 large pizzas. So, literally, there's the table of food. There's all these people walking up to it, and people are turning on flashlights, moving around. This is fun. And literally, we creep up there and crawl away with a cooler of soda with ice and a stack of pizza boxes. Literally, somebody went up on the table. When somebody wasn't looking, literally, they look away. They look back, and they didn't even notice there's all these pizza boxes are gone. Just gone. And we crawled back, I think 200 meters back in the wood line, and we drank the soda and ate all of the fucking pizza. The other teams, they got some other shit. I think they got a radio, which we didn't keep it. We just left it where the cooler was so they'd find it in the morning. They took 2 guidons. Again, we left those with the cooler. We wrote some stupid shit on there, though, and it wasn't appreciated. They were very upset and hurt, but we didn't care. We're infantry. Fuck them. And we had our own little pizza party and soda party at their expense. And we laughed our motherfucking asses off. That was one. And we did that one at night. The second one, I think that was the following year. And, we had got the briefing. Because every time we did some shit like that, we'd always get yelled at. We'd always get the 3rd degree, blah, blah, blah. And, before we go out to AT, we got a briefing from our chain of command. The ROTC's out there. They are not in play. They're not to be engaged. They're just there training. And we're like, north and south to the chain of command. And then we look at each other and we're like, they're in play, motherfucker. So we did this one. It was like the same. It was the same fucking thing. It was broad fucking daylight. It can't even be more obvious than that. I don't even know how they did it. I don't know how anybody could be this stupid, but they were. And they had all of their shit. Because this went down at like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they ate chow like 17:30, and. We were watching them for that, half of that day, and the food came out in a bus, and then they would leave on a bus, and we saw the bus pull in around 3:30, so we knew, hey, the food's here, everything's good to go. We literally E&E'd up to the back of that motherfucker, took out all of their food, all of it, and they had mermites. Okay, so we literally, I had like running with 2 Mermite cans, and we took them all of them, and then we went back and got the coolers of Kool-Aid. We got the Kool-Aid and the lemonade. We took both of them, and we set them off in the wood line, and we ate all of the. Well, we couldn't eat all the food. It's Army food. It's like it was good. It was all right. It's chili mac. I mean, I'm a big fan of chili mac. It was one of my favorite dishes in the Army, and we ate that, and the vegetables and whatever, we ate it all. And whatever we didn't eat, which was probably 2/3 of it, we just left it in the wood line, all set up there with our plates and shit. And then we went back to doing our mission. And when we got done, we got yelled at for that too, even though they couldn't really prove it was any of us. And nobody saw any of us, but their shit disappeared under, weird circumstances to have it found in the wood line. Fuck those guys. That wasn't like the only time. A lot of times we would come across the ROTC cadets or whatever, and doing our missions, or we're traveling around doing our thing. And they just became targets of opportunity. And they were up at the compass course doing land nav up there on Grayling. Yeah, again, their vehicles were all fucking parked, and there was nobody pulling security on them. And they didn't even lock the fucking vehicles. I mean, not that the security system that the Army has for its vehicles is that complicated. It's usually just either a cable or a chain that goes around the gas pedal, and then it goes around the steering wheel, and then they lock it. But they didn't even lock them. They didn't lock any of them. All of their shit was unsecured. So what did we do? We removed all of their vehicles and moved them exactly 1 click away, just off to the side of a 4-way intersection. We had them parked up all in bumper number order. and we locked them up for them because, they left the locks and stuff and the cables in the vehicles, and the locks weren't shut. They were left open, so it just seemed right that we should lock them up. and then we went back in the wood line and watched the mayhem ensue. Because it took them, a while, to discover that their vehicles were even fucking gone. I think it took like 45 minutes. And then they had to stop training, and then they called range control, and then there was a big stink, and then the MPs came out there. And they drove past the vehicles, just to get to the range. And we could literally hear the MPs like, "Are you sure? Because your vehicles, what are the bumper numbers?" They get on the radio and they call up there. "Yeah, your vehicles are a click up the road, and they're all locked up." Now, who steals vehicles and locks them up? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's one of you college guys in here fucking around or something. You guys were fucking with us. So the MPs didn't fucking believe them. Yeah, so, what are you going to do? We Charlie Mike out, finish our mission, do our deal. We got yelled at again. Well, we didn't get yelled at. We got questioned over that one because they didn't really know. They're like, it could have been somebody else. Could have been a rival school, or, could have been the Air Force or whatever. Could have fucking pulled that prank. But it was us. It was the 425. But I was never a fan of the whole ROTC thing because, in my personal opinion, the way the Army is selecting officers is based off of a way that they selected officers back in the 1800s. That's such bullshit now. It's unbelievable. If you want to get good leaders, you need to pick them from prior service people, or find those hard chargers that when you get them when they're E4, E5. They have a proven track record, and then, pour all the money and resources into those guys. Because, quite frankly, I don't give a fuck if you were a captain of your football team, or your father was a West Point graduate, or any of those other bullshit circumstances that they use now to pick these people to go to West Point, or Annapolis, or any of those ROTC programs. Like, literally, these people go through, it's like a parallel fucking system, and then at the very end, they dump them in with the soldiers, and then they wonder why there's just this huge fucking disconnect and all of this craziness that ensues at the fucking combat level. I mean, are you fucking surprised? That is insane. I could never wrap my head around that. The Army has the green to gold program, which they really don't use that much. Yeah, I mean, we're wasting money hand over fist, on these ROTC cadets, or, these West Point, Annapolis, whatever. It's just a huge fucking fiasco. The standards to get into the service now are so fucking high that it's really not that much of a stretch to take any ground pounder that is worth his weight and send him to college, and invest the money into that guy. He showed up. He just wanted to be a grunt, and he turned out. He was just a crunchy, dude, and he turned out to. It's his calling. He turned out to do it quite well, and why not capitalize on that and take that one motivated dude with a proven track record in the military, not captain of a football team, and send them to an institution, pour some money into him, and turn him into an officer, and then bring him back. Wow, that is not rocket science, huh? Wow, I don't know. That's just me going off on a tangent. So, anyway, we're coming up on 20 minutes, so I'll check you guys later.